Hey everybody, back at it again, Hogs gameplay on in the background, and I want to start this video by asking you, what drives you? Now you could look at this topic from a bunch of different ways, different angles. Of course you can tell from the video title that we are going to be touching on that of the ego once more, but I also want to bring up the organic point as well, because I've been pondering this question for a few days now, and you can look at it from the organic sense of your own body, where you control your own movements, you have complete control and traversal of your body and movement within the world. It sounds like I'm explaining a video game, that's the crazy thing. But you could go even deeper than that and ask the next question of, how are you conscious? You have things that are going on within you that you have no control over, that are fighting within you, that are healing you, that are aging you. So many different processes going on that you're not even aware of half the time. Again, we come back to that idea of breathing. But it's interesting with breathing as well. You're going off on so many tangents, I know, but breathing being used in the likes of yoga and meditation to reach different levels of the subconscious. And when you think of breathing too, that also dips into that area of hypnosis as well. So you get kind of what you would see in Western culture as being kind of taboo, just like, ooh, you've been hypnotized. That's it rings those bells of kind of alarming bells of like, whoa, that's kind of mysticism, ooh, spooky. But in actual fact, it is just being able to clear your mind and focus. You look at it from the organic point of your body and movement, but then deeper than that, ask yourself, what is driving you? How are you conscious right now? How is that even possible? Like, yeah, okay, you can sit here and explain the bodily functions and scientific methods that go into that, but we all know those things. But going deeper than that, going deeper than the surface level of this is what the body does, how are you conscious right now? It's crazy. But then, of course, you look at it from the social side of things, from the ego side of things, and the idea of having drives. I don't know why that's such a saying these days. It has been since I've been alive. What drives you in life? What pushes you forward? And again, when you look at that idea of the world as an illusion and the ego not actually being a real thing, you realize just how much of a game life actually is and how we're all playing our part. It's crazy. One thing I've been meaning to state for the record, by the way, I've been meaning to say it in past commentaries, but never really gotten around to it. Just as a sort of disclaimer, in a way, is to say that the things that I ramble about in these videos and discuss are really just ways of me arousing your self-conscious being. We're all in this rat race together, and sometimes it's good to kind of pull your head out of the sand of the ego and have your head above water and realize, oh, there are actually different parts within me, different ways of living life and viewing life, just all these sorts of things. And there is no right or wrong way. Like, I discussed the ego in depth, but it's not a bad thing. It never is, because it's something that is ingrained within all of us. But the main thing that I wanted to draw attention to in this video is the idea of how the ego isn't the only thing that can drive your life. When you view yourself as an ego, as an inner self, and as an organic being that is interacting with the world, that your body is a vehicle in which your ego sits and thinks that it is driving and leading the way, but really it is the inner self that needs to kind of pop its head over the trench and just observe the game of life and what the ego is up to, Because again, you look at the entirety of your life and how you have always been told that this is who you are. You are Steve. You are Steve Madden, and your job is to make shoes. Just things that have been ingrained in you from when you were born. You were given a name. You grew up, and again, it's your personality that drives everything in social settings, in job settings, in every performance that you give within life. It is all centered around that ego and personality. And that's the ego is how we play through life. We treat life as a game, because life is a game when you look at it from the perspective of a dead man. when you hold no worries and you can float through life, and it's like, well, if you get eaten by the tiger, then so be it. That was one life, and you do it all again. You do it all over again. I will admit that there is still a part of me in the back of my brain that is worried almost about reincarnation. That part of my ego that still doesn't quite want to let go of itself and, give in to starting again, starting afresh. It's the fresh bit that gets me. It's the reset button that we've talked about in past videos before, past discussions of who and why is it that this reset button gets hit when you are reincarnated, that you don't get to keep the memories from a past life. And it's that idea of how the universe enjoys a jolly good surprise. And if you didn't hit that reset button, then, you'd hold all the previous memories and you'd eventually become like a piece of paper that has been drawn on 1,000 times, that there's no space left. So you just become this blur of an organism. So being able to reset and go through a different life, whether it be as a worm or a bird or another human or an extraterrestrial. Whoa, spooky. Yeah. We've discussed the interconnectedness between the two states of the ego and the organic before, in that you have the organic drives of being hungry, of needing sleep, all the things that can replenish your body in some way. Those are, I guess, in a way, drives. And then you have the ego drives, like I mentioned, of what you want to do in life with a job, whether you want to have kids or a family, or, just all the social things. So then when you think about what drives you within your inner self, well, you could argue that the inner self is what's driving the whole thing, but that the inner self is so much more, so much bigger than you actually realize. But just acknowledging that it's there and being able to observe the world and your own existence, I suppose, as the inner self, looking at your own ego and being like, well, isn't he doing well? Isn't this being doing well? And you could argue that it is a bit odd, of course. I find that, again, in mainly Western society, Western culture, it is sort of strange and you look down on as sort of like a hippy-dippy kind of dude, of just like, whoa, you're far out there, man. Because I find that when you think about spirituality and religion in the West, it's all, to me anyway, this is purely my opinion, it's all so boring. It's all so stuffy and old-timey and just sort of, Christianity, as an example, is one where you're constantly in this state of guilt. I find Catholics especially, you feel guilty for existence. And my parents being Catholic, they didn't really have it on them. Maybe a little bit when they were growing up. I remember both of them mentioning at some point how they each had a very scary nun, either at their school or within their community, that they were just terrified of, which to me, not growing up a Catholic, being open-minded about religion and spirituality and all that sort of stuff, it did seem quite strange. I think it's really interesting too when you look at the idea of social drives, both within the ego, but also just as a species as well. So again, a little bit of the organic there. And yeah, okay, we want to be reproducing, we want to be having families, but then the social drive within that of helping the family. And it kind of links to religion in a way, in that idea of guilt, and how when you are born, you are instantly kind of put in that state of guilt because of the family members around you that have been protecting you, that have been bringing you up, that have been feeding you, that have been caring for you, and that have put all of that time into you. And you automatically, like religion or not, you have that guilt almost put on you from the get-go. It's so strange. And it's always something that in my life, I guess, in my own ego, that's always felt sort of normal, and I've always felt like I've had to give back to my family, i.e. my parents. So whenever I'm home, I always feel like I have to give something back, whether it be doing chores around the house or just stuff like that, that is sort of commonplace for most people, for the ego I should say, but when you look at that perspective from the inner self, looking at the ego and that social idea of guilt and having to give something back to your parents where it was their decisions that brought you into being, you can see the slight paradox in that, and just like, well, it wasn't my choice to come out into existence. Things went pop and suddenly I was there, and now you are flooded with this kind of guilt. And it's not always intentional, of course. Sometimes it's very subtle in, you know, you'll hear remarks from parents that'll be like, oh, you know, such and such put so much time and energy into you. And I guess you have it throughout life as well, you know, just people that invest in you, whether it be teachers or partners or siblings, or, you know, just you have that constant social state of having to give something back to people. I mean, take the concept of holidays where you are giving gifts and things. Like, there are many holidays that I look at and I'm like, why do we do this? When you look at the religious holidays of Christmas, again, predominantly in the West, it is so heavily commercialized, and you feel almost pressured to be getting at least one gift a year to somebody. Otherwise, you're not conforming to that social norm. And for family members, of course, like I try and get people now. I mean, I understand growing up as an adult now how your taste in things from as you were a kid wanting toys and such, and then getting older and presents becoming things that you actually need as an adult, whether it be things around the house. Like, I was super excited about getting, I think it was a vegetable chopper at one Christmas. Man, I've never been so excited. But then I realized that there are so many individual parts in that chopper that it's much easier for me to just dice things myself with a knife. It's easier, faster, and I don't have to clean things. So realizing that not all commercial products are worth your money. So yeah, we have a lot of things that can drive us in our life, whether it be people, whether it be within our own selves, whether it be our job, whether it be things that are purely within the world of the ego. What I want to know is, what drives you? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll be having plenty more discussions on these things in future. And of course, if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, let me know in the comments. It really does help me out. Of course, if you give me that thumbs up for my own ego's for my own ego's sake, if you could like the video, that would be greatly appreciated. But in the meantime, I will catch you guys later for the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Destination going.